There is no question that's off limits. If you're shy, you could always send me an email or send your aide counselor an email and we'll get to you. So, do you have another microphone or no?
I do not, but I can project, so if you want to tell me, I can always get it to you.
All right, let's open up for questions. Yes. Yeah.
What is the criteria for family size? Is it like the amount of dependents you have on your taxes or actual size of people in your home?
Actual size of the people in your home who you provide 50% or more support to. So, if they're in my house, eating my food, right? Yeah. Yep.
You showed like that thing before where people got scholarship. Is that for 1 year only and you got to reapply again?
Good question. Your scholarships, oh, that's a beautiful question. I paid that guy to ask that question. Here? Right. So do you see the Siena, where anytime you see the word scholarship, that stays the same. You're going to start to get emails that says, congratulations, you've been accepted to Siena College. Here's $100,000 in scholarships over 4 years. You divide by 4, and that's what you're getting in scholarships. Anywhere you see the word grant, that's impacted by your FAFSA. So let's say 1 year you do the FAFSA, and the next year you don't, you lose your grant money. Other side, you did the FAFSA in 2023. You wasn't working, you wasn't making that much, so your SAI was low. 2024, you have to do your FAFSA every single year. In 2024, your student is a sophomore. You got a job, you got promoted. So guess what happens to those grants? They can decrease or they can not be there. So these are all questions you ask the financial aid department. What is it I need to make sure that I can keep the money? Yes?
And what about SUNY schools? Is this a SUNY school or not?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Green and gold. So SUNY schools, who here knows the difference between a private school and a SUNY school? Oh, you raise your hand first. I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you texting or taking a lonely? I call them lonelies, not selfies. Taking a lonely. By yourself. There's like 1 million people in the world. What's a SUNY school?
A SUNY is a state school,
Yes.
and then usually state residents get more, I'm not saying more financial aid, but they give you more if you're a state resident. Private school is private, so.
I don't even know why you have me here. You have her. That's fantastic. That's actually, well, I don't even know what to add. Private institutions have their own grants, right? SUNY schools usually have state-driven grants. There's one grant in particular for SUNY schools. It's called Excelsior. How many of us have heard of it? Have you read the requirements for that thing? Good Lord. So we don't do an Excelsior grant at Siena. What we do to combat against that is we'll give you a Siena grant. Because here's the thing, I can guarantee you 80% of you will probably get it, and then 80% of you will probably lose it. There's so many requirements, but it's still New York State aid. Also, for a SUNY school, right, your tuition is automatically at a subsidized rate, aka you're already getting a discount. So if I'm from Connecticut and if I want to go to SUNY Corcoran, I'm going to pay 40, 50 grand. But if I'm an in-state resident, I'll probably pay 24,000 all the way down to probably 3,000 because I pay New York State taxes. Okay? So that's the key difference. SUNY schools are typically bigger in size. Like private schools, we have roughly 4,000 students at Siena. Okay? Roughly 4,000. So you want to look at acceptance rates. You want to look at, is this school just accepting anybody? Or they're very, very selective? These are things you got to pick up on. Because schools are great marketing companies. For example, what do you attribute if I say the word Harvard? Columbia, Princeton, St. John's. What do I attribute? What can you attribute to that? I got one word, debt. Debt. So you have to be very, very mindful, all right? That's why you visit the campus. And don't just visit when they have an open house, because guess what schools do? They sweep, they mop, they order food, there's music. Pop up on them. Hey, I'm here. I need to see the school. All right? We handle walk-ins every single day. If they don't have walk-ins every single day, red flag. Okay? What up? What other questions? Yes? Yeah.
Are you required to report the 503B, what is it, the college savings plan?
529. How many of us know what a 529 is? Good. So, bless you, by the way, as well. I wish my parents loved me enough to save for school for me. My mother loves me. I'm an only child. So, a 529 account, you do report it, right? So a 529 account is a college savings account that's pre-tax. So in other words, you're putting money away, it's gaining interest, but you're not paying taxes. Solely for the purposes of paying for educational expenses. You pay for anything else, you're going to pay a big tax burden on that and get penalties. So yes, you are going to report the 529. Is the account under your name?
It's in my kid's name.
Yeah. If you love your parents, you might want to consider shifting ownership. Yeah, you're good.
Shifting it to the parents' name?
The grandparents, you didn't hear it from me. Uncle, aunt, then you can't get the tax break. But if you sit down with your accountant, look at your tax break compared to the money you could potentially save in college. I don't care about that tax break. I don't. Okay, if you didn't hear from me, and it's not recorded on this, take that out. Yes. Oh, let me get her. You ask her, and I'll get you yes.
You mentioned that the colleges were prepped for the FAFSA not working. Meaning they have their own forms, you go to the college website and fill out another similar
A
form.
financial document. So if the school hasn't prepared for this FAFSA debacle, red flag. It's another red flag. The form, so you want to ask them, do you have a financial document I can fill out to get my financial aid package? Because we don't know when the FAFSA is really going to come out. We say December, but guess what? That's what they told us last year. Last year they kept pushing the date. We're going to get it October, middle of October, November, after Christmas, things of that nature. So ask the school's financial aid office, do you have your own FAFSA version? So you apply to the school. Right, so you apply to the school now, apply, and as soon as you apply, call the schools you're really interested in and say, hey, I understand there's FAFSA delays, but do you have your own financial document? Now, I'm glad you brought that up. You are going to have to send them the tax returns and W-2s, your proprietary information, okay? How many of us feel uncomfortable about that? My dad feels the same way. But then I tell my dad, yeah, but you have about 13 credit cards. You have all these online accounts. Your information is out there. How many of us have a cell phone? They have the worst data restrictions ever. Everyone, you sign up for a cell phone company, then you're getting crazy text messages and calls. You got a UPS package, all this other stuff, right? So don't worry about it. Every school should have a BES server to protect their CP&I, sensitive personal information. But I would, again, meet up with the financial aid office and say, hey, I did the FAFSA application. I did your version of the FAFSA application. Could we meet virtually, okay, or in person or chat over the phone to make sure I got the right numbers from my tax return and the right numbers from my W-2? Because in reality, all a W-2 form is a summary of all the monies, yes, monies, I-E-S, that you have made or accrued with a particular job. So you probably made wages, right? Medical, 401k. It summarizes every type of money you made with a job. A tax return, believe it or not, is the taxes that you've overpaid. So the government goes, okay, you overpaid by $20,000. Here's $3,000 back, have fun. That's all they are. So we're bringing it down to the simplest one. You had another question here? Oh, did you have a follow-up?
Assuming the FAFSA is working correctly, the colleges need that in order to even give you a college scholarship from their college? They don't.
No, you're going to get an email. Yeah, you're going to get an email that says you've been, congratulations on your acceptance to, and then you put the institution name there, right? Whatever college you apply to. Here is your merit scholarship. That is not your financial aid. They do that to hook your attention in. Oh, wait a minute, I got 100 grand? I got 90,000? It piques your interest, it's all marketing. Okay? Your financial aid package is this, it's after you,
The college application,
right.
regardless of the FAFSA.
Yes. The college application is for enrollment, admittance into the school. Okay? Your financial aid award letter is pretty much what you have to pay. So you apply to the school, and after that, if the FAFSA comes out complete, you're gonna have to complete the FAFSA no matter what. But you wanna call the schools you're really seriously thinking about attending and say, hey, the FAFSA hasn't come out yet. Do you have your own way of giving me a financial aid package? Okay? Yes.
My first question is, you mentioned getting additional counseling. My daughter's already been in contact with schools and using personal accounts.
Okay.
She switches to different emails, I don't know for a fact.
I mean, if she can keep track, like if, let's say she applied to 3 schools and she was a personal email, I mean, on your phone, you can add like 10 or on her cell phone. But I'm telling you right now, I have 12,000 emails still in my inbox, completely destroyed my amount of storage. What was your second question?
My second question is just making sure I understand the situation. So both parents can be contributors.
Yes. Yes. So, the contributor, I have a great, if you want it, I'll send it to you. Just send me an email. If the parents filed jointly on the tax return, you still are gonna, both parents will still need to create an ID. But, so what's gonna happen is, one parent will go ahead, create their ID, provide consent and approval, right? But because you're joint, it's gonna pool. You know, the parent, both of them doesn't, you know, they don't have to give that consent and approval. What's gonna happen is, let's say mom gives consent and approval, does everything, it's still gonna ask for dad information to know that dad is alive and exists. So he'll still get an email that says, you gotta create your ID, but we need to know if we need to verify you. Because remember, the FSA ID is just verifying you are a human being. That's all it's doing. It's giving you, the reason why is because we're giving you government-assisted aid. So it needs to make sure that you're alive and exist. That's a very good question, okay? How many of us have remarried? Remarried, like you got divorced, and you got married again. I'm the only lucky guy. No? So if you know someone who was with dad or was mom, got divorced and is remarried, that step-parent information has to go on the FAFSA, whether or not they filed jointly. The government wants to know household income. So yeah, we're married, but we file separately. Does not matter. You still have to create a FSA ID for the step-parent, and that step-parent has to give consent and approval. Now here's where it's unfair. Miguel, I'm married. I don't love her kid that much. I'm not giving that kid no money. It does not matter as per federal aid requirements. So that's a great question, because I forgot to bring that up. Yes?
You have 2 children in college, you can fill out 2 separate FAFSAs.
So if you have multiple kids in college, right, you're going to keep your ID. Each kid is going to send you an invitation to do their FAFSA. It's a great question. So you'll get sent 3 emails. You have to provide consent and approval 3 different times. It's a great, great question. If how many of us have went to college in the past? So you probably have an FSA ID account already. If you try to create a brand new FSA ID, it'll probably give you an error message because you already have one. So make sure you go to forget passcode and reset it. If you're having issues, right, give FAFSA a call, okay? Sometimes they'll submit a ticket, sometimes they'll delete one account, okay? Yes. No. Well, you know what, I don't even know that, I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question. I don't know when we started, because I started from my financial aid career in 2021. So I don't know the answer to that. Thank you for making me look like I don't know how to do my job. I'll get the answer though, for sure. That's a good question. That's like asking me who you date in like high school, or elementary. No. Yes. Just don't make me look stupid.
Okay,
girlfriend who made it up. She wants to know everything. That's her. Her name is Angela. Stay away from her. Don't fill out the application. They might have their own version of the FAFSA already.
So you think you're using the CSS?
Yep. Schools last year were using the CSS. Schools that didn't require the CSS because it goes into detail, that they already had all the information that they needed, whether they needed the information or not. So you're probably most likely going to get a financial aid package, but the fact that you didn't apply for Sienna, I probably should never answer that question. What else? Yes?
The amount of students in school to lower the student index, is that just college students or students in elementary, middle? Does it all count?
Yes, so if you have a student who is in any sort of charter school, anything you pay for, private school, you want to contact the financial aid office. It doesn't have to just be college.
Okay.
It could be private school tuition. Do you have students that you're paying?
In private, no, just.
Listen, I went to public school. My kids went to public school. I'm only going to pay for one. Elementary school or college? Yes.
Did you say that if you have multiple kids in college, it doesn't help you for FAFSA? It's not going to lower your,
They took that out last year, the nerve of them, right? But if you reach out to the financial aid offices of the schools you're seriously thinking about going to, we could readjust. They've given us permission because they got so much backlash. They've given us permission to add that back in. Now, whenever you call, it's called a change in circumstance, whether you have multiple kids in college, you lost your job, separation, etc. Every school, as per federal law, are going to require your W-2s for 2023 and your federal tax returns. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you start to get that federal information electronically. Okay? Have your tax preparer send you that every year through email and you save it. If you give consent and approval. Right. Now, for those of you who, like, I'll share a situation, right? I have custody of my kids, right? So I have custody of my kids, and I'll share a personal situation. I had them for 8 years. Mom claimed them on her taxes, but they live with me. So she had to do an amended hostility, right? She had to do what's called an amended return. So the reason why that impacts her is she won't be able to provide it automatically through the IRS. But that's okay, because there's 1,000 other reasons why your information won't transfer. It could be the type of business you have, right? It could be so many different things. It could be you have foreign income, you have income coming from everywhere. The key is to provide consent and approval. Whether they could transfer your information or not doesn't matter, because you can still manually enter your financial information. But the reason why they want the FTI, like they want you to provide consent and approval so they can talk to the IRS and transfer your information, because a little over, I think it was like $50 million was never given out to students last year. Over 50 mil. That's what they tell us. What I really think is people were falsifying their FAFSA and getting that money. That's what I think. But I'm just the aid counselor. Any other questions? Yes. Can you repeat that again? To a point, yes. If we're talking about 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 8, 10, no. But if we're talking about 20,000, 30,000, yes, it could decrease some of your other aid. So there is a term called cost of attendance. Depending on the student's major, every student will have a unique cost of attendance. For example, at Sienna, for our bio majors, their cost of attendance is roughly $75,000. So that means we can't go above $75,000 institutional money or outside money. Right? We do that to protect you, to make a fiduciary. We have a fiduciary obligation to make sure you don't make wrong financial decisions. Okay? So you want to make sure that, yes, apply to as many outside scholarships. You need to be the biggest pest and the biggest pain in the butt to your high school counselors. They typically have websites you can apply. Okay? But that's a very good question. If you work in a union, if you have an HR, reach out to them, because they might have free money for you. Okay? Now, before I answer the next question, we talked about your financial aid package, but but we didn't talk about how to pay for college. So when you pay for college, you could either have a 529 account and exhaust it, right? Or you could take out a loan, a private loan. The loan is typically in the student's name, and the parent or anyone could co-sign if your student doesn't have credit. If you're gonna take out a loan, and you're gonna pay back that loan right away, don't do it. Call the school, see if they have a payment plan. At Siena, we have interest-free payment plans. So what I did there again, I plugged Siena back in. We have interest-free payment plan. So if you're gonna take out a loan and pay the loan back right away, why are you gonna take out a loan and have that interest build and build and build and build when you can just hop on a payment plan? You can mix and match. If your bill is, typically when you get your award letter, you see the 19,000, that's for the year. So typically you would divide it in half. Now be careful though, for freshmen. Your fall bill will be more money than your spring bill because freshman fees will be attached to the fall bill. Why? Why would freshman fees be attached to the fall bill, not the spring? What? In case you don't come back. So as freshmen, that's why I would have said divide that number in half, right? You're spilling a lot of tea here. So what you want to understand, like sophomore, junior year, okay, you can divide it in half. One more other thing, how many of us will be bio majors, chem majors, physics, computer science? So what you have to understand is that there's something called lab fees that won't be in this letter. Lab fees can range from $120 to $1,200. Okay? Taking classes over the winter is not included here. Taking classes in the summer is not included here. Okay? So when you pay for school, you can take out a loan. The student will walk into any bank, apply. If they get denied, the parents will co-sign, right? If you're going to borrow money, that is the best time to get a new laptop, to buy anything that you need for school. Okay? You want to make sure that you're set because you're taking out that loan. But if you're going to pay the loan right away, don't take out the loans. Get on the payment plan and you pay monthly. There is a federal loan that's called a Parent Plus loan. Who here has ever heard of it? Has anyone taken out a Parent Plus loan? So the Parent Plus loan is you go to the FAFSA website with your FSA ID. It could only be the mom or the dad for now. And you apply. So the difference between a Parent Plus loan and a private loan, what is this? This is new to me, Miguel. What is this? Well, a private loan is going to check your credit history, is going to check delinquencies, it's going to check everything for your credit. The Parent Plus loan, although they'll check your credit, will make the decision based off adverse credit history. Let's break it down even more. Credit history, they want to know if you've been on time with payments the last 120 days. I'll share another story of my personal life. I had a side food truck business. The pandemic happened. I had all this overhead. I maxed out my credit cards. So my income to debt ratio, what I made and what I owed was through the roof, so I couldn't get a private loan. But because I used my credit card to pay my bills, I still had a good payment history, I was able to get a Parent Plus loan. Keeping it simple, okay? Another thing between Parent Plus loans is they deduct what's called an origination fee, 4.2 to 8%. Make it simple. Every $1,000, they're gonna take $42 out for themselves. So if you have a bill that's $1,000, don't borrow a Parent Plus loan for $1,000. You want to borrow $1,042. So by the time they take their origination fee out, you still have enough of the balance. Okay? So you could do a private loan, a payment plan, or a Parent Plus loan, or you could mix and match. So let's say you take out someone on a loan and then you pay the rest in monthly installments. Yes? If interest rates change, yes, and they have. Yeah, but you typically want to stay away from consolidation that typically shows up as a negative inclination on behalf of your credit history. Because what you're telling the credit world is, I can't handle all of this, I need to consolidate. So be very careful before you consolidate debt. I learned that the hard way. Any other questions? Yes? Your assets? So yes, you have to report assets. Now, your house is not an asset if you own a house. The house you live in is not an asset. The house you have on the side is though. The Airbnb, the other property. I had land in Puerto Rico, and then when they got hit with a hurricane, it was desolate. But because I still have property and can still make a profit of selling, I had to report it. Okay? Good question. You go to your CPA, your certified public accountant. But it's typically value, as per the FAFSA, is typically how much it's worth minus the debt equals value, as per FAFSA. But to find that number, you just reach out to your accountant if you have property. If you don't have an accountant, I would call FAFSA. Or reach out to the financial aid counselor that the school you're really serious about considering. Okay? Not really. They just want to know if you have any substance, any property. Because again, whether or not you make money off selling that property doesn't matter. You can sell it to use that money either to pay debt or pay for school. In simple terms. That's a good question. The house you live in, you don't have to report it. What else? Yes. Good question. Who here has a retirement? IRAs. Are they untaxed? Yes, because you're getting the benefit. So, you still have to report it as untaxed income on the FAFSA, but it doesn't impact your SAI. Okay? Again, the government wants it in simple terms. Let's break it down, simple terms. The government wants to know what you have, because can you borrow against your 401k? Yes or no? Yeah, you can.
Can you talk more about that, borrowing against your 401k? My husband and I both retired. So we haven't accumulated a lot in our respective.
When did you retire?
I was tax retired from Venezuela in 10 years ago.
Okay.
54.
Okay.
And my husband is 62. He just retired 2 years ago.
In 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what question do you want me to answer in terms of?
Is it better to pull money out of 401 or is it better to or is that a question right now? Is there like a rule of thumb?
When you borrow against your 401k that was untaxed, if you borrow against it, now you have what? You have money. So you have to report that money. And it sucks because I got a new roof. I just borrowed against my 401k, right? New roof, new water. And we wanted to sell the house to get a bigger house. So I used my 401k, okay? But at the same time, it's also a good idea because when you borrow against your 401k, do you pay an entity and pay the entity interest?
No, you pay some.
You pay yourself that. So you might want to call your 401k. It might be worth it for you to do that. But, you know.
And you also have to think about if the president decides to eliminate the student loans, I'll be mad at you.
Yeah, that's a whole other
But,
presentation.
yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. I made a mistake of putting one more zero in the checking account. But you can always go back and edit it. It's going to ask you, as of today, what do you have in your checkings and your savings? Okay? Every question on the FAFSA has a question mark. I love it because it shows you an example of where they pull the information from, and it breaks it down. So they dummy proofed it for me because a lot of the ways they used to ask these questions were so confusing. Yes?
So just to make sure, if you have a mortgage on the home you live on, it's not an asset. Don't even list it at all. So it's not there.
It's not going to ask you about it. It's going to ask you, do you have any secondary?
Okay.
For sure. Something tells me you have a huge house. Sell it, and we can open up laundromats and bodegas. At Sienna. At Sienna. What else? Yes.
Is there anything the students should be looking at? Like, for instance, if they want to go ahead and they're, looking at schools and they get the merit scholarship and they're asking what that is, should they be hesitant on applying for certain loans? Or should they apply for everything?
You faded out at the end, I'm sorry.
So applying to schools themselves,
Yeah.
and let's say my daughter was like, Mom, what is the merit loan?
Yeah.
So that's from the school itself. Should they be careful of what loans exactly they're applying for, or should they apply for everything that they see?
That's a good question. So when you file the FAFSA, you're automatically applying for that Stafford loan. Now, for freshmen, it's $5,500, okay? Depending on your FAFSA will dictate how much of that is subsidized and unsubsidized. To answer your question, don't just select yes to everything, meet with your financial aid. If they're gonna be doing private loans, again, that'll be the time for you to borrow extra money, okay? You're gonna get a chance to accept or decline. You don't have to accept those loans. For example, the price here is $19,000, assuming I accepted my grants and my loans. But if I decline $2,000 unsubsidized loan and accept $3,500, my price now goes up $2,000. Because that $19,000 is saying you're gonna accept everything. But if I decline the $2,000 loan, now my price goes up $2,000. This is, when you read the award letter, it's assuming you're going to accept every single type of aid on that paper. That's a good question.
Thank you.
Yes. Typically, we send communicate, when you're a prospective family, we send communication to the student. Now, let's say we get this a lot, yeah, I'm the one that does everything for the student. You're going to do yourself a disservice. Your student needs to sit right in that chair and understand what they're responsible for. Because you guys are making life decisions to keep your student in school for an experience. Yeah, they need to take ownership. So make sure they're there with you, number one. Number two, because of FERPA laws, which is the college version of HIPAA, I can talk to you about financial information. I can't talk to you about anything else. Every school interprets FERPA their own way. And where at Siena, okay, you fill out a FERPA form. I can only ask, I can only answer financial aid questions. That's it. Even though you filled out a FERPA form. So some things you're going to want to do: fill out a FERPA form for every school. Whatever school you go to, fill out a FERPA form. Number one. Number two, find out if the school has payment plans and find out when to sign up for those payment plans. Okay? Very, very, very important. You should be meeting with your financial aid counselor once per semester, minimum. Once per semester is fine. But you need to make sure you meet with your financial aid counselor so that you don't have any surprises. Because I had a parent on Monday whose kid was just accepting the money. Parents were sending the 529. Kid wasn't even enrolled. Ooh, that's tough, right? What else we got?
If you have a parent plus, but you didn't take out full amount, why don't you pay something? My child was all parents now. What's that, a tuition? That's what I don't know, or maybe
Is the apartment a separate entity for the school, or you got the apartment from the school, like they had a partner agreement? I would keep everything related to educational expenses on that side. Meaning, I would pay for whatever I could for my student for school. Off-campus living is your personal preference. FYI, if you're local, you want to ask for two types of award packages. One being a resident and one being a commuter. The grants are impacted by your FAFSA, right? All those grants, that Siena grant, is impacted by your FAFSA. But if you live off campus, your cost is low, so your need is low, so you might not be eligible for that grant. So your financial aid package could be completely different. So typically, yes. For this term, yes. But your financial aid package can change. Scholarships and grants that were on your award, because if you notice, this says total estimated resident costs. So because you're paying for room and board, we're more likely to give you more money to offset that. What else? Well, I had a lot of fun. Pardon me if I broke it down too simple, but I think if we break it down simple, we can make a financially informed decision. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.